All right, when I first examined this piece, the drawer, where drawers went, were blocked off. And for years, it was in all the paperwork that originally did not have drawers down there. And I knew that should have been drawers. And after some examining and sticking my hand up inside, I could find the drawer tracks. So that was what got started doing this. And what I did was cut a hole, cut down, and then hand cut up and pull it out so that it wouldn't damage anything, because it's nailed through here and then had sticks nailed down the sides.
So this is a 20th century repair from vandalism.
This is probably, it was probably done from anywhere from 1910 to 1935, 40 in there.
And they covered in the old drawer openings.
They covered the old drawer openings. The drawers were in long enough that they wore the drawer tracks. You can see the wear where the drawer was pulled in and out. And then this section was built, probably pure speculation, 1830, 1840, for the top of the desk to sit on. This is the original section of the desk that the documents were signed on.
So this originally was not a desk with legs.
This originally either had another base or it sat on a table. I'm going to speculate sat on a table. And it is all walnut and yellow pine, and so is the base that was made for it. And then the interesting thing is to set it like this, and I'm going to hold it. You can see the scrub plane marks where they planed the boards. You got a 3-board bottom, but if you look, and I will show you one that I've got out, all the nails are hand-struck, handmade nails.
Do you see any evidence of attachment to a previous base?
There is no. The only place that there's anything with 2 round nails here, 2 round nails here, and 2 toe-nailed in right here, and they broke this, driving a nail through it. That is the only place that you can see where anything was ever held in place.
Other than the more modern nails that held
Right.
it.
The modern nails that held it on there is the only thing that shows it was ever held down. And it's heavy enough it doesn't need to be held down. I don't understand the thought process to start with, because as heavy as it is, it's not going to come off of the base. Another way to tell that 2 separate hands made it in 2 separate eras, if you look at the dovetails, at the angle of the dovetail, and then you look at the angle of the dovetail in the drawers, they are entirely different angles. And when a cabinet maker builds a piece of furniture, as a general rule, he's going to run through from start to finish probably all of his life using the same angle on the dovetail he cuts.
So that's 2 different craftspeople.
So that's 2 different craftspeople did that. Now, they've been together 150 years, give or take, 125, 150 years. This piece was done before 1800. That piece was done sometime between 1820 and 1870, but I really want to put it 1825, 1835.
Based on what you've seen with others.
Based on what I've seen and based on the wear. You get the wear in the tracks alone on the drawers that are missing. Those tracks are worn out and will have to be flipped over. Now that was done before they even blocked it in, so that much wear was put on it. This is drawers for the base, and the reason I'm rebuilding them, you can see where every time it was pulled in and out for the last, 80, 100 years, it was dragging the bottom. The sides are worn off. You can see they're almost wedge-shaped now from front to back. So every time it pulls out, it pulls across that bottom, wearing the bottom out and also wearing the frame out. So what I've done here, I have straightened this up and glued yellow pine strip to it. Then I will cut this off and hand plane it down to fit, and then I will square it up.
So this will become a new.
This will become the new side that runs that the drawer slides on, then keeping it from rubbing the bottom.
And when you're done, we won't visibly be able to tell that's new wood.
I always leave those visible. I always leave the repairs inside the case visible. Number one, if you try to color them and then you use the drawer, you just wear the color off, and then it starts looking funny. The repairs, anything on the outside of the case, will be completely hidden from view as far as anybody being able to tell I did it. It will be photographed as we do it, so there will be evidence in photographs.
Do you want to show the escutcheons? Since we're over here.
Now the escutcheons, there are 3 escutcheons missing, and then I have to have 4 for the drawers I'm building. So what I use is an old thick brass hinge.
And you cut that new.
Right. Drill a hole the size of the escutcheon and trace it. Then cut it out. Cut the inside first. I'm ready to clean that up a little bit more, and then cut the outside edge. Then you hand file it. And each one of them will be hand filed a little differently, because over the years these drawers, they've been missing for a long time, and because they're missing, their wear around them. So some of them will be just slightly larger than the others, but you won't be able to tell it. It's the kind of thing that you don't notice unless you start measuring it with a set of calibers or something.
And for the uninitiated, an escutcheon is the metal opening around the keyhole, like
exactly.
on this little piece right here. So the escutcheon is a metal ring or metal.
Yeah, it's a brass trim piece.
Right.
And it serves 2 purposes. One, originally it would have been polished shiny, which I won't do to these, but it would be polished shiny, so it'd be pretty. But it also kept you from chewing the wood up around it, taking the key in and out.
Right.
This is one of the original nails that held the yellow pine bottom onto the top section of the desk. You can see it was struck with a ball bean hammer 3 times. After the nail was hammered out, this would be dropped in a hole and struck with a hammer 3 times to give it a head. It would be hot, and they would strike it inside of a small anvil and strike it 3 times to get a head on it, so that you'd end up with a nail. There's your flat end that was hammered on, so that it just makes a wedge or a chisel-like point to go in. Mm-hmm. These are the beginnings of the nails that did not belong in the piece that I've pulled out to this point.
So these are 19th and 20th century.
These nails probably are all after 1900. There's a couple of carpet tacks that may be before 1900, but even those, if you glance at them, you think they're old, but they're not. Look at that machine point. There's a machine point on that nail. So you got finished nails, carpet nails, and headed number 6 nails. If you look here, this is a. I know what I'm looking. I know what I'm looking at. This is a handmade T head nail. It's got an elongated. It's the same kind of nail, but instead of having the flat 3 strike, this one is made like a T, and it's for holding this type of material in place, but not making a great big hole. Where on the bottom, it's no big deal. You don't see them. Here, once you get it in there, you can sink it down and lay something over it. Hard to say if any of these are original. These look like shellac stick. I'm going to say originally it was a mixture of wax and some sort of a color, but that's been done a long time. The other thing I found, again, we're trying to document what we've got here. this is the fall front or the writing surface, which has obviously been changed, the lock has. But if you look right here, see this little bump, these little lines that go crossways, and there's a scratch line that just keeps, there's 3 or 4 of them. This was machine done.
Okay.
So this is original, this was broken.
The edge of it.
So this was repaired and added probably when the guy who thought restoring a piece meant driving it full of nails. Now he did well. It fits good and so on. It's part of the history of the piece. Very seldom do you come across a piece that has managed to stay around as long as this without repairs. An original hinge, a replacement. You can see the thick cast iron hinge here. It's all cast into 2 pieces with a pin drove through it and fastened to stay. This one has a steel pin that slides through, and it's been made in a factory where this one was cast.
So you're not the first person to work on this desk?
Nope, I am probably at a good guess, probably the 4th or 5th. All of this sort of thing is until the last 50, 75 years, unless you're talking about a piece that went in a museum or whatever, and even then they didn't always do them right. But until the last 50, 60, 75 years, restoration was not restoration, it was just repairs. You know, you just repaired the piece and you went on. Only did this type of work in general start in the last 50, 60 years. After we discussed working on this, I started looking for wood, and I bought a blanket chest, a walnut blanket chest that was damaged pretty bad.
How old is it?
It probably is earlier than the original section of the desk. It had OG bracket feet. I'm going to put it in the 1780s, but this is a one-piece walnut board that I'm lucky enough that when I measured it, where the saw marks are will all get cut out, and then there will be a drawer side. Look at the coloration. Once I strip the old varnish off, it'll blend right in.
So you are recreating the missing drawers that were...
I'm going to hand build the drawers from scratch. This is simply a panel from a door. I've got several of them, and they're about the right size for doing the drawer bottoms. If you see, the width is about the same on some of these. And all I'm going to do is strip the paint off and hand plane them to match this, so that when you open the drawer, it looks like it should. This is the lumber that I'm cutting for drawer sides, and I cut it out of a, here's a piece too. This one is, all right, as far as the material to make the drawers, to get a good piece of yellow pine, you can see the real tight grain on this. If you look, it's quarter sawn really tight. That will make the drawers. And to get that material, this is a beam out of a building in downtown Knoxville. Probably not 3 blocks from the Blount Mansion.
How old is the beam?
Probably Victorian era, maybe a little earlier. It was holding up an old warehouse.
So the biggest challenge for you is finding suitable old wood.
It is, and I'll come right back out. What I do is cut it into pieces away from the nails, so there will be no nail holes, which you can see in here. So I can cut from here to here and from here to here. Then I slice it off into oversized slices. Then I mill it down slightly larger than I need, and then from this point on I'll hand plane so that the proper tool marks will be in it, but it will save me time. Obviously, I'm going to cut this with a bandsaw and rough it in with a machine planer, and then I will hand plane so that the proper tool marks are there.
Wow.
And when you come back the first of the week, we will have drawers to look at.
Awesome.
All right, this is one of the drawer sides. I will overcut that a little bit. Each repair will be worked down by hand. How's that for your sound? That's it, right there. This takes that little tiny bit off so that you don't get into this very much. And you can see it removes the glue. This is nothing but a piece of steel with a burr worked on it, and that cleans that off.